So guys, before we start implementing this app, I need to tell you two things. The first thing that I need to tell you is I'm using Python 3.6.1. And if you guys have like Python 2.7 or something like that, I would just recommend updating your Python. Yeah, I mean getting the latest version of Python so you can follow along with these tutorial series. And the second thing that I want to tell you guys is this. I'm using PyCharm IDE. And if you guys are saying, okay, Mo, what the heck is the PyCharm IDE? Basically, it is a place where you can write Python code, and I mean, it looks really nice, it looks really neat, and that's why I'm using it. So you could be using Node++, Eclipse, or whatever you want, but I'm going to be using this IDE because, I mean, this is what I really like to use. So now that I got that out of the way, let's just go ahead and learn what the heck is a term. A term is basically part of a polynomial. So a bunch of terms create a polynomial. So each term needs to have a coefficient, a variable, and power. For example, this is a term and this is a term. Let me just go ahead and delete all that because I was like recording this video, try a couple times recording this video, and the noise in the refrigerator just hopped in, so I had to unplug it and record this video another time, but life is good. So this is a term and this is a term. So how do we know that this is a term and this is a different term? It is because each term has a coefficient, a variable, and also power, and they are separated by a sign. So this is another term and this is another term. So how many terms did this polynomial has? This polynomial has 2 terms. How do we know that? Because this is a term right here and this is a term right here. And basically, bunch of terms create a polynomial. So this polynomial has this term and this term. So if we go ahead and add a plus sign and add a new term, and let's just go ahead and change the numbers so it can just look a little bit different. So this polynomial has 3 terms. So let's just go ahead and recap it one more time. A term is basically a part of a polynomial. So this big polynomial, this whole thing, we're going to break it up into smaller pieces, or basically break it up into terms, so we can fix or deal with the problem in a more efficient way. So what a term is again is anything that has a coefficient, a variable, and a power. So now that you guys have this in mind, let's just go ahead and implement the term class. And guys, I promise you this term class is going to be like the easiest class that you've ever created in your entire life. So let's go ahead and name it term, press enter, and just go ahead and type in this is the term class, and give yourself a little bit of space and go ahead and type in class term, and let's go ahead and create a constructor, and let's go ahead and take 2 parameters. Every term has a coefficient and it has power. So guys, the reason why we're ignoring the variable is because the variable is basically x and we don't know what x is. So later on in this tutorial series, we're gonna basically deal with this x when we format our string and we create it. And basically when we create the answer or when we create the output, we're gonna format it all together and we're gonna put the x there. But for now, we don't really need it. So let's go ahead and type in self dot underscore, and just go ahead and copy that, paste it right here, equal coefficient, and let's just go ahead and duplicate that, and do the same thing for power. So if you guys are saying, okay, Mo, why in the world did you do that? Why didn't you just use these variables and just basically manipulated them, or just use them in your program instead of like setting them equal to this self variable and putting underscore? The reason why I'm doing that is because, guys, I need these variables to be private, meaning I don't want the user to be able to access these variables. So that's why I'm going to be creating other methods to get these variables back. Let's go ahead and type in define get underscore power, and go ahead and type in return. All right, now let's go ahead and type in define get underscore, actually let me just copy that, save a bunch of time, and go ahead and type in return self dot underscore coefficient. And let's just go ahead and get some space here, because PyCharm is yelling at me. It's like, hey, where are your spaces? Where's all that? And yeah, all right. So what do we have so far is a term class. And what a term class has is basically a coefficient in power. And the reason why we created these two methods to get these variables back, because we need these variables to be private. We don't want the user to be able to access them. If he wants to access them, then he needs to use these methods. Otherwise, he won't be able to. So guys, remember in the first tutorial when I told you that we're actually going to test this class if it actually works or not? So because I mean, we really want to learn a lot about Python from these tutorial series, not just create an app. This is what I told you in the first tutorial. So let's just go ahead and do that. How can you create a test? So a good habit is just to type in test and the name of your class, which is term. All right, so just go ahead and type in